Project Gemini was a United States space project funded by NASA that was active between the years 1961 and 1966. The main purpose of the Project Gemini was to gather knowledge and experience required for missions to take to the moon and back. NASA designed a capsule that looked much like the capsule used in Project Mercury, except had a few different changes. For instance, it could hold 2 people and was fitted to use the Titan II rocket. The goals of Project Gemini were long-duration spaceflight, 14 days or more, space rendezvous, space docking, extravehicular activity, re-entry, and landing. All goals were achieved. Project Gemini ran a series of spaceflight missions between the years of 1964 and 1966. Gemini 1 was the first test flight in the Gemini project. Gemini 1 took place between April 8th through 12th in 1964 and was meant to test the Titan II rocket. The craft was intentionally destroyed on re-entry. Gemini 2 was launched on January 19th, 1965, and it was the second test flight in the Gemini project. This flight was specifically used to test the heat shields for re-entry. Neither Gemini 1 nor 2 had manned pilots. Gemini 3 was launched on March 23, 1965, and was the first manned Gemini flight. Gemini 4 was launched on June 3rd and ended on June 7th in 1965. This Gemini flight had the first spacewalk, which lasted 22 minutes. Gemini 5 was launched on August 21st and lasted till August 29th in 1965. This was the first week-long flight and was also the first flight to use fuel cells for electrical power and also evaluated guidance systems for future rendezvous missions. Gemini 6A was launched on December 15th and lasted till December 16th in 1965. Gemini 6A rendezvoused with Gemini 7 and was the first rendezvous mission in the Gemini project. Gemini 7 was launched on December 4th, 1965 and lasted until December 18th, 1965. This mission was a rendezvous target and its primary goal was to determine if humans can live in space for 14 days. Gemini 8 was launched on March 16th, 1966 and ended on the 17th. This was the first docking mission in the Gemini project, but a docking accident nearly killed the crew, and this was also the first emergency landing of a spacecraft. Gemini 9A was launched on June 3rd and lasted through June 6th in 1966. Its mission was to dock with the Augmented Target Docking Adapter, but failed due to a separation error, making docking impossible. Gemini 10 was launched on July 18th and lasted through the 21st in 1966. This was the first use of Agenda Target Vehicle's propulsion systems. This also rendezvoused with Agenda Target Vehicle from Gemini 8 and retrieved experiments from this vehicle. Gemini 11 was launched on September 12th and lasted through the 15th in 1966. Gemini 11 reached a record apogee of 739.2 nautical miles, reached using the Agenda Target Vehicle's propulsion system after rendezvous and docking. Gemini 12 was launched on November 11th and lasted through the 15th in 1966. Gemini 12 was the last flight mission and rendezvoused with Agenda and also solved many EVA problems. The total cost for everything in the Gemini projects came out to about $1.2834 billion, or $7.3 billion in modern times.